Hey guys, this is Joy with Create It with Joy. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. Today's fall card is made using Hello Bluebird's Fall Banner Buddies stamp set. Really sweet, cute stamp set. The critters in these are so precious, so I just had to use these. So to get started, I wanted to ink up my background. I'm inking up on some Neenah Classic Crest Solar White cardstock. I am using Distress Oxide inks in Dried Marigold, Spiced Marmalade, and Ripe Persimmon. You cannot say that fast. And they're all pretty similar in color, which was totally fine. I really wanted just a slight variation, and I am just kind of putting little blotches of color here and there. Then I'm going to blend it all together really good, but I'm just starting with laying down some color. There is no rhyme or reason. And then I'm going to go back over the little spots and really start to get a good blend on this. I really do like the Distress Oxide inks for this because once your paper really gets saturated, oh my gosh, it blends so nicely. I mean, I think they blend good to begin with, but once that paper gets nice and saturated, you get a really good blend. But you can see the color starting to kind of meld together and look good, and the lines are less harsh now. And I'm just going through all the colors again, and isn't that turning out so pretty? I think Ripe Persimmon is a really yummy color, but Dried Marigold I think is my favorite color in this color group here. I'm going to finish that up and it looks great. So now I'm going to give it a little tiny spritz. I didn't want anything crazy, just some light drops, just to give it just a little bit of character to the background. But isn't that super pretty? So clean up my mess, obviously, and we're going to move on to the next thing. So now I am going to be taking another piece of the Neenah cardstock, and I am using Lawn Fawn's stitched hillside border and also Lawn Fawn's stitched trails, and that's what that heart is. It's just going to emboss some stitching where the one below that is going to cut the paper and have a stitched line. I flipped it around, so I did not have the stitch line on that top piece of paper, with the exception of the stitched heart trail that I just put on there. So this is going to go on the top part of my card because this distressed background is going to peek through. Now I'm just going to cut the bottom piece straight. Again, I did not want any stitched lines on this. You could choose to do that if you wanted to. Obviously, it's a personal choice. I only wanted the stitched heart trail at the top. So now I stamped the little guy, the cute little squirrel, and I'm going to be coloring him. I stamped leaves, the little acorns, all kinds of things, and I stamped a ton of this stuff. I am just going to show a little bit of coloring, because I'm not going to just keep showing the same things that I've colored over and over. So here's the colors that I used. So the browns that I've used are E59, 35, 30, 29, 37, and 33. So that is for this cute squirrel and for the acorns. And I think he's got such a little face. He almost looks like he's praying, which I think is really sweet. He's just being very precious, and I just think he is a doll. So adding some dark shadows around where you would hopefully see a little bit of shadow. I cannot say, I will say I'm not an expert on shadows and things like that, but I think we all have a basic idea of where some dark areas need to be and where some light areas need to be. And I made his little cheeks and his belly a lighter color brown. And so I'm just going to keep adding the dark around, blending it out. I'm going to add a little bit of pink to his ears, or his one ear, with R20. And I will add a little bit of R20 to the cheek. And I just kept working on this little guy. I just wanted to have a dark enough area that you've got some contrast. And then I would add some little dots to him on his fur to give a little bit of texture. You do not have to do that, obviously, personal choice. Sometimes I leave that off, but I felt like he needed a little bit of texture. So again, just blending out his belly, and isn't he cute? And then for the leaves, or for the acorns, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm moving too quickly ahead. So the acorns, I'm using those those earth tone colors, adding just a little bit of shading, nothing too crazy because these are tiny images. And honestly, you could get away with not even doing that at all if you didn't want to. But it kind of bothers me, so I have to. But really on these small images, you can just leave it. So now I'm going to be coloring with, oh, I can't even see what that one is. Oh, these are the YRs. Okay, so YR09 and YR15 for these orange leaves. I'm also going to be using Y06, 19, and 23, and that is going to be for the pear. I am using G28 for a green and YG21, 17, and 25. And then for the reds, R20, 24, and 39. R20 was for the cheeks, so for the leaves, it'll be 24 and 39. And I'm not being super particular about this. Some of the leaves I'm laying down a couple colors, some I'm laying down a solid color. But I really liked this long sprig of leaves. I think it's really, really a fun element for this card. So I'm just going to go through, color all of my images. I'm going to color probably the most of them off camera. Here's the yellows, Y06, Y19, and Y23. Again, just laying down some lights, some darks, and going from there. Here is the pears. I did leave this in, and I'm sure, you know, when you see a pear, it has a little bit of brown, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of green, and so that's kind of what I was mimicking here. And I think it turned out pretty cute. Super easy. And then when I'm done coloring all of these images in, I will die cut those. So now I've taken that bottom panel that we cut out of white cardstock, and I'm going to be stamping the sentiment that says, wishing you a harvest of happiness, and that comes in the Fall Banner Buddy stamp set. I'm going to clean that off really good. You could add some black heat embossing. You could do any color. That would be great. This green cardstock is from the Autumn paper pack from Cardstock Warehouse, and I needed a little bit of contrast between the white and the orange background. So I'm just lining up that same Lawn Fawn stitched hillside border die, and I'm leaving a little bit of lip, so I've got this green edge, as you can see there. So I did that for the top panel and the bottom panel, and I really do like how that turned out. And I think this green color was really soft, and it really kind of went well with the markers that I had used. I did originally look at an orange color, but it just was too blah, so I needed a little something. So I am using some fun foam behind this bottom panel. You could use foam adhesive, and that would be fine. And I'm just using that to give a little bit of dimension. I will do it for the bottom panel and the top panel. And fun foam's not super thick, so you get a slight dimension without it being super crazy. Some of the foam adhesive is pretty thick. So this kept it pretty low profile for the most part. And I'm just using some liquid glue to adhere that down and let that dry. I'm using Ranger's Multimedia Matte Glue for this, but you can use any liquid glue. And this will slide around for a second, so just be careful of that when you're laying it down. But I'm getting that lined up with the bottom of my card. This is an A2 size card. Making sure everything is lined up. And so you just have a little bit of dimension. I'm going to do the same thing with the top panel. You definitely don't have to add any dimension. I think the card would be just as beautiful if it did not have any dimension behind it. So now it's time to put all of these pieces that I colored and die cut together. And so I kind of want this to, with all the images, kind of flow around the sentiment. So first I'm going to lay down most of these greenery leaves in the background, and then I can tuck in and around the acorns, the other colored leaves, the pear, and then the squirrel is going to sit directly on top of that using some foam adhesive. I liked using liquid glue for this because some of the things I didn't like where they were, and it was easy to pick up before it dried. So if you don't use liquid glue, maybe don't press down the images too hard at first. So that way, if you want to move them around, you can. So I wanted to get him in place, and then I can start tucking things in and around the leaves and the squirrel. So I've got red leaves, yellow leaves, orange leaves, and I think that just really gives it this nice pop of color. And then you've got the brown acorns and the green pear. So you really do get a lot of color on this card, even though half of it or more than half of it is white. So I think it turned out really pretty. Now you can say I have some leaves laid out at the top, and to me it just kind of felt like that stitched trail was like the wind blowing, and so I attached these leaves up at the top like it was blowing in the wind, and it has a little heart, and so that was my interpretation of it. I just felt like it would be cute to have a little extra something at the top. Originally, I was just going to have that heart, and all the leaves and everything were going to be at the bottom. But I think when I was laying things out, I dropped a leaf up there or something, and it looked so cute, and I'm like, okay, we're going to go with it. So I really do like how that turned out. Adding a little bit of black glaze pen to the squirrel's face, just to highlight the eyes and the mouth. I did not do any white pen detail on him because he was already just way too cute. But can you see? There's dimension, there's layers. The card looks full, even though there's a lot of white space on this card. You've got that nice, fun background, and then the green cardstock to highlight. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this card. I hope that it inspires you. Thank you so much for all of your support. You are always a blessing to me. I do have some affiliate links below. They cost you nothing to use, but it does help me. So thank you so very much when you use them. And I will see you guys soon. Bye.